Hi everyone, it's me. I am just getting home from work and it's late, and I wrote this passage on the subway this morning as I was going into the office, morning commute. And it was interesting, it was a packed morning, nothing crazy, but packed. But again, not too packed. So we're on the train, getting on the train to go, into the city, and I'm witnessing this woman crouched over, grabbing this pole, literally fighting for her life for this pole, like in between people, pressing, like kind of like suffering, right? Like to hold on, to clutch to this pole, which makes total sense, right? If you've never ridden the subway or anything, like it, you can get jostled, right? Like, if you don't have your core strength working and all of that. Anyway, she was just fighting for her life. And I'm sitting and I'm watching, and I think to myself, if she literally just turned around, like not even all the way around, just like looked around, she would have noticed there was a huge, just empty space behind her and a beautiful pole that was unobstructed. So if she literally just turned around, and she could have removed herself from the struggle of like reaching and like legit like ping-ponging, to hold on to that one pole. If she just let go and turned around, she would have had a much more peaceful commute, right? And I thought to myself, hopefully she doesn't, but she probably will take that energy, and that like is gonna carry with her, throughout the day until whenever she lets it go or whatever. And it was just like such a strong metaphor to me, because I'm like, that was 100%, the empty spot was in her blind spot, right? So she didn't see it, therefore it didn't exist. And the only thing that existed was the present moment and the struggle and like the death grip she had on that, because that was all she had, and that's what she was gonna fight for it. She wasn't gonna let that man or that other woman or anyone take her from that pole if it was the last thing that she did that day, But instead, there was a much easier path had she just been more aware, took the time to look, didn't rush on and just, sometimes you rush on and we're just so tunnel vision on like whatever it is we want, and we're just, and then just like, no. All she had to do was just take a moment. Oh shit, she could have held on to the other pole, heck, maybe there was even a seat somewhere, so I say all that to say like, and ask what we should be asking ourselves, is there anything, or are there many things that we're clutching onto, and in doing so missing the other spots that are in our lives and in our reality to breathe, to let go, to try something new, to do something different, right? And to not just be holding on to something because that's what worked in the moment of that choice. Right? Like in the moment of her choosing, when she got on the train, that might have been the very best spot. But things often change and flow. And all it needs to do is breathe, shoulders down, unclench the jaw, and all those things. And here's something new and something different, right? So I challenge you, this week, this month, this year, the rest of your life, to constantly look around, to be aware, and to not be so set on gripping and forcing your way through something just because it was comfortable in the moment, it was the choice that you made in a moment, and trust that you don't have to suffer through life. You don't have to fight all the time. I don't think we ever should be fighting, right? Like survival mode is the worst space we can be physically. That's where I believe one of the biggest factors of my getting cancer came from, was, spending a lot of my time in my life in survival mode, and like completely unconsciously, like I didn't know about it, until the end. And I started really deconstructing and realizing like, wow, like I'm spending a lot of my time fighting and pushing and clawing for anything, for everything. So it just really made me realize, let me slow down. Why do I do what I do? Why do I choose what I choose? And if I did choose one thing 2 years ago, why am I still doing it now? Maybe because it makes sense and that's the right thing to do now. Or maybe it's time to go, oh, I needed to do X, Y, and Z in that moment in time, and that was right for me then. But now I've grown. I've let go. I'm this person now, and that person no longer needs, to wake up and go to the gym at 4 a.m., to, have a trainer, with a rigid schedule, for their training. Maybe now what my body needs is reformer Pilates and more loose at the gym where I'm still disciplined, because sometimes, for me at least, I'm like, oh, if I change, then I'm no longer disciplined. I'm no longer committed. It's like, no, you are those things even more so because you're acknowledging that, everything has a season and that the body and the soul require us to tune in and to listen. And that, maybe squatting 250 pounds and deadlifting 350 pounds did that, served its time and its purpose. And as we grow and evolve, that doesn't always need to follow us. I can still be strong. I can still be fit, but it doesn't need to be in the same exact way all the time. And, nor should it, because if you do the same thing all the time, you're never going to grow, you're never going to change, you're never going to expand beyond that, right? So, and I'm using fitness as a metaphor because I'm hoping that resonates with me, and that's something that will translate to, the majority of my followers, my listeners, my viewers. But, I think it's important to always just be aware of what we're choosing and why, right? And to always question, where is that coming from? Is this coming from a place of survival? And you'll know, because it's going to feel like anxiety. It's going to feel forced, and you're like, you got to do it. And it's just like, no, my body for the last few months has been saying, slow down, focus, breathe. And in those spaces of breathing, I realized where I was holding and where I was forcing things that worked. Like during chemotherapy, I had to make the commitment to myself every day to go to the gym, to wake up early and go. I had to, because if I didn't have that, I didn't know what I was gonna have. I needed to go to the gym, and when I cashed out every day at the gym, because chemotherapy cost something. It cost your energy. So I cashed out, and the rest of the day I spent laying on the floor on my PMF mat, just wasted, right? Not wasted from alcohol or drugs, but wasted from the expenditure that cost me. But that's what, for me, I needed the gym. I needed to go around and be around strong, healthy, happy, upbeat people every single day. And what I couldn't do was sit here and wallow in that. And 100%, I had my moments. I had 3 really bad days where it was really, really hard for me, and my friends were there for me, my family was there for me in those hard moments. And, I'll speak on that at, other times when it makes sense to, because I don't want to, digress too much. But my point being is there are moments where certain things are like hands down non-negotiable. But then we have to learn how to be able to pivot and to truly tune into ourselves and go, oh, things are different now. I'm no longer surviving. I'm not fighting to survive. So therefore, I need to be kinder. I need to listen to myself. If I wake up in the morning and my body goes, you need more sleep, I'm going to choose more sleep. Where the old me would have pushed through that and said, you're lazy, get up and go. And I would have went up, and then you break yourself down and you end up doing more harm. You end up causing more inflammation and just causing more issues, as opposed to my body says I need sleep. I need to trust her and I need to sleep. I'll go to the gym later, or I don't go to the gym at all that day, right? It doesn't have to be all or nothing at all the time, and my personality is all or nothing. I'm balls to the wall, or I'm like, I'm good, which can be great, great qualities at times. But just really, I challenge you to question what you're doing and why, and to really listen. And what would happen if you chose something differently? What would happen? What would happen? What's the best thing that could happen? What's the worst thing that could happen? You would learn something. And I really do believe that, as long as we're learning and growing and expanding always, we're always going to be our best self. So when you're commuting this week, when you're living your life, and you feel yourself really being like, oh, and pushing and pulling to like whatever it is, pause for a second and say, where is this coming from? And do I really need this? Thanks, guys.